Now I'm going to go over some surfacing enhancements. These are in your Through Curves, Bridge Surface, and Studio Surface. So we'll go under Surface, and to demonstrate, I'm going to start out with the Bridge Surface. It's the most dynamic one to show this. Now with the Through Curves, Studio Surface, and the Bridge Surface, the order of operations is basically the same. You select the edge or the curve or whatever it is you want to bridge to, and then the adjacent face. So there's my edge, and then I will go to edge number 2, and there's edge number 2. Now notice I have to have a minimum continuity of tangent. This does not work with G0 because G0 is just simply that. It's a positional constraint. That's it. With a tangent constraint or more, G1, G2, G3, I have the ability to determine the flow direction. Now, right now, it is not specified. And what the flow direction is in reference to is basically how is it tangent? How does this surface that's being made flow away from the edge that you have selected? Right now, it's not specified, so basically it's pretty much straight across. Okay, just a line connecting to another line. Now, when I come in here, historically, I've always had isoparametric. And what isoparametric does is it looks at the iso curves of that surface, and then it basically does that bridge of that edge. Okay, this is one that's always been in there. Another one that's always been in there is perpendicular. So in this case, the perpendicular and the none very similar, because what's happening is this edge is basically, or these faces are being determined to be perpendicular to this face. Okay, so if I grab this and I move this, because this is why I wanted to use bridge, you'll note that this remains perpendicular to the section that I have specified. Okay, it's not to the face, or I shouldn't say not to the face, I said face earlier and misspoke. It's really perpendicular to this section. So if the section had some sort of a crown or curvature to it, then you would see this edge remain perpendicular to that. The new one is what's called adjacent edges. Now, in this case, it's going to be very similar to iso curves. But in truth, what it is, let me go from adjacent edges to iso. You'll see there was a slight little difference in this case. So what the adjacent edges is doing is it's looking at this adjacent edge and making this curvature continuous to that adjacent edge, not the isoparms of the surface, which edges and faces and things like that can be different. So now, if I grab this, this is why I wanted to use bridge surface. If I grab this and pull this away, you'll note that this now basically becomes, doesn't know what to do because there's no adjacent edge here. Okay, and because of that, it really doesn't do much. If I change this to say isoparametric, you'll see that there's a bigger difference because now it's remaining tangent to the isoparms of the surface. Okay, so that is the new flow direction that is in anything that is basically like the through curves will do this. Studio Surface, which I'll demonstrate here in a moment, will do this as well. Okay, so you just have additional types of control for how these edges flow, and that can profoundly affect the surface. So you really have to pay attention to what those are doing. So if I were to take this and move that out, move that down, and then now I'm going to change this to perpendicular. You'll see how this remains perpendicular to this over here. This remains perpendicular to that edge. And isoparametric does the true, like it's like if I were to do a bridge curve from an iso curve here to here, that's what I'm going to basically get. and again, adjacent edges. So to demonstrate that with Studio Surface, again, minimally, I need to have a tangent constraint. And let me go ahead and shrink this. So there's my perpendicular. You'll see there's adjacent edges. There's my ISO. There's my adjacent edges. Okay, it's going to give me a similar result. And then the same thing is true for through curves. Once again, oops, it's flow direction. You'll see, let me go here. 1 second, let me refresh through curves. Single, go here to here. Pick my face, pick my face. So there's my isoparm. You didn't see it before because I didn't have things selected. Remember, these menus will update and change based off of your current selections. So again, there's my isoparametric, there's my perpendicular, and the new one, the adjacent edges, is there as well. I find this to be very useful, actually. I'm very happy that it's there. It's, I think, a great improvement. It's going to make things a little easier on some of the projects that I use. Like if I have a trimmed edge I need to go to or something along those lines. So I think it's very useful that it is there.